And joining us now on the debate, the three complainants against Maclean's Magazine and Mark Steyn. And they are, from left to right, Nasim Mithuani, Khurram Awan, and Muniza Sheikh, all of whom are Osgoode Hall law students, currently articling in various law firms and places around this city. We're grateful that you came in tonight to share your views with us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, well, listen, I wasn't going to start here, but since the offer has been made and the gauntlet, as it were, has been thrown down, you did say in your original document that what you were interested in was a full airing of the views, a full debate. You weren't interested in attacking journalists. You did say, rather, that you wanted media outlets to provide a forum for open debate and argument. Mark has said he is happy to come over here, and since we can't bring 4 people over there, but we can bring 1 over here, I'm offering the 3 of you the opportunity to discuss this with him face to face.
Well, first of all, let us be very clear, because since Mr. Steyn chose to put this in issue, just like many of the other fabrications that he has made about our complaints, he alleged that we actually ran away from the opportunity to debate him. That's not the case. The offer that was put to us by the producers was that Mr. Steyn would get 20 minutes to deliver his rants, as he just did for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the show, and then we would have a panel where it would basically be us and him from his conduct yelling back and forth. That's something that was not acceptable to us. What we made clear was that we would be happy to have a discussion as long as we had an initial uninterrupted time.
Okay. We don't permit yelling on this show. We don't permit name-calling on the show. We never have. We haven't had it.
Right.
If you're interested in having a debate with the guy, he's right over there. I can have him set up a chair, and we can do this in a very civilized fashion.
Right.
If you don't, that's your choice. But
however,
you have to deal with the public relations ramifications of that.
Absolutely. However, for the sake of equality, because Mr. Steyn has had 20 minutes to talk about this.
He's had 15 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes. We would like to have 15 minutes to talk about this issue. And then he can come over and join us. But we want to have 15 minutes of uninterrupted time to talk about our issue.
You got 15, they want 15, then we'll have all of you together.
I thought the negotiation was that they were having 20.
You're happy with whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I'm cool.
Then let's do 15. All right, he just did 15. We'll do 15 with you. And you'll tell me, Tina, how much time's left, and we'll have everybody together. That sounds fair to me. We know who he is.
Right.
I don't know if anybody knows who you are. So I would like to just take the first of the 15 minutes, give 20 seconds to each of you. Tell us who you guys are. Who are you?
I went to Osgoode Hall Law School. I'm currently articling and going to be called to the bar next month.
Where are you from?
Background?
Yeah.
I'm Pakistani Muslim.
And came to Canada when you were?
I was born here, born
and
raised
born
here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, this I did not know. Okay, Khurram.
I was born in Britain, spent most of my life there and in New Zealand and in Pakistan, and I moved here when I was 18, and I've been a Canadian citizen since I was 20, went to Osgoode Hall. And
terrific. Nasim?
I actually came to Canada just when I almost born. Moved
from where?
From Kenya, East Africa. We settled in a small town just outside of London, Ontario, Strathroy, population 12,000. Took French immersion, ended up at McMaster taking French, and then at Osgoode.
Terrific. So you're bilingual. You're probably trilingual.
Yeah, tri.
What's your third language?
It's an Indian dialect.
Terrific. Okay, so we know a little bit more about you now. That sounds good. Tell me, and whoever wants to start this off is fine with me, what's the biggest single complaint you have with what he's written?
Well, I think to answer that, there's 2 problems. Essentially, it's the premise of the article itself and the method that Mark Steyn chooses to get to the conclusion that he makes.
So what's wrong with the premise?
The premise, the way that we see it and the way that Mark Steyn has just described it, is that there's going to be an essential Muslim takeover of the West, that it will be, from the article that we have from Maclean's, it will be an inevitably bloody civil warfare, that Muslims will then suppress the Westerners to an oppressive form of Islamic Sharia law.
Has he said that? Or
Yeah.
Are you inferring that?
No, it's there.
Well,
Sorry, we're going to get to you in a second.
You got to wait. We've agreed to ground rules. You got to wait.
This is the exact reason why we're unable to agree to
let me
debate
do my
with this
job, okay?
gentleman.
Hang on. Let me do my job, and then you get to come over here. Go ahead. Please tell us. Are you inferring that, or is it in the text?
Well, no. There are exact. I'm taking almost quotes from the text.
And
Go ahead, Khurram.
Well, let us read this. It says, on the continent and elsewhere in the West, native populations are aging and fading and being supplanted remorselessly by a young Muslim demographic. Time for the obligatory of courses. Of course, not all Muslims support terrorists, though enough are hot for jihad to provide an impressive support network of mosques from Vienna to Stockholm to Toronto to Seattle. Of course, not all Muslims support terrorists, though enough of them share their basic objectives, the wish to live under Islamic law in Europe and North America.
Can we pull that apart? Let's deconstruct that. Question number one, the key question, whenever you ask a question, is that true?
No, it's not.
Well,
That's not accurate?
And if I can just talk about that. The method that Mark Steyn chooses to adopt is essentially, he first uses a lot of neutral, objective facts about demographics to show that the Muslim population is in fact growing. And
that's indisputable, right?
That's right.
We're all agreed on that.
That's right.
Okay?
And the Western population seems to be in decline. That's fine. Then what Mark Steyn does is he jumps from that to these assertions about Muslims being hot for jihad, for example, or Muslims Muslims having a global objective.
Well, let me just be consistent here, because I quoted this figure to him, so let me quote it to you. And Maniza, you do get to talk at some point.
I will.
Honestly,
you know
okay.
what? That's fine.
I quoted the Pew Research study before, where it was suggested that 2/3 of Muslims saw no inconsistency between their faith and living in a Western society.
Right.
However, 32% of Muslim Americans do see that conflict between being a devout Muslim and living in a modern society. So the question is, when you say a substantial number, is 32% not a substantial number?
The biggest poll that we have to date is a Gallup poll that was commissioned over 6 years, took into account 90% of the Muslim population. And if we look at the results of that poll, we know that, for example, British Muslims that Mark Steyn chooses to talk about quite frequently in the excerpt are more likely than the general public of Britain to find no justification for violence. British Muslims are more likely to identify with Britain.
What percentage would that be?
I actually have that, and I can get that for you right after the break. I have the exact numbers just...
that would be key. I mean, one of the things, obviously, one of the points he's making is whether a substantial number of people are interested in jihad or not.
Well, you see,
and if 1/3 of people think that there is an inconsistency between being a devout Muslim and being a Westerner, then 32% in the books of many constitutes a substantial number.
Yeah, but hold on, that's different from being prepared to use what he terms to be bloody means, or to be prepared to take over Western society through a bloody takeover. His primary premise in this article is that there will be what he terms as a bloody transfer of real estate, where these Muslims who share the basic objectives of terrorists will adopt violence to take over Western society. And you see, that's our problem, because you see, our issue wasn't just with this one article. Maclean's magazine published 22 articles over a 2.5-year period with similar length and content, articles which allege that Muslims, for example, engage in sex with minors and animals, that Muslims are sheep shaggers, that Muslims, that the CBC sitcom...
in his book, though.
Not in that particular book, but I'm telling you that these are articles that have been published, 22 of them in a 2.5-year period in Maclean's magazine. And that not a single counter-view article to any of these has been published. So when we approach Maclean's...
Anywhere?
Not a single counter-view article in Maclean's magazine
So you approached Maclean's and you said, we want equal time.
Yes, what we said is that we want to be able to publish a representative response from a mutually acceptable author of adequate length. We were told on 3 occasions in our meeting with Maclean's senior editors that they weren't prepared to publish any response. And on one occasion, they said that Maclean's would rather go bankrupt.